guys, it's Trina, and this is my reading wrap-up for the month of March. Let's check in with what my March TBR was. So I had 5 books on my TBR this month, and I really thought I was going to do it, but I only read 3 of these this month. I haven't even picked up The Handmaid's Tale yet, and as for Of Fire and Stars, I have started it. I'm like this far through it, which is about 2/3 of the way through. I just waited too long in the month to pick this one up, but I will be finishing it soon. I did read a total of 9 books this month, so let's get into those. In the description, I will put links to all the books I talk about today in case you want to find them very easily, and there are also timestamps in the description in case you want to jump straight to one of my reviews. I kind of rated almost across the board this month. I had some 2-star reads, 3-star reads, 4-star reads, and just one 5-star book. I will be doing this like usual, where I start at the lower end of my ratings and then work my way up to my favorite book of the month. So my 2-star books, the first of those was Wayfarer by Alexandra Bracken. This is the sequel to Passenger, and it is the finale of this duology, and this is a YA science fiction series about time travelers and our main character Etta. She's a musical prodigy, and she finds out that her mother passed on the ability to travel through time to her. And so in this series you travel to a ton of different places around the globe, and you also travel to a bunch of different times, and there is a pretty prominent romance in it. If you guys remember how I reviewed Passenger when I read it last year, I said that I had a lot of trouble getting into that book. I had the same trouble getting into Wayfarer, and now that I have read Passenger and Wayfarer, and I've also read The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, this is something that I have encountered in all of her books. This is a very plot-driven story. There's a lot happening here, and I love it when heavy plot books give you a lot of fast pace and a lot of action, and I feel like the pacing of these books just keeps getting slowed down because Bracken's writing gets really bogged down with a lot of descriptions. So I got about halfway through Wayfarer and then I decided to put it down, and once I put it down it was a chore to pick this book back up. I just was dreading it. I was not looking forward to it. I would pick it up and get really invested again and be like, yeah, this is really fun, and then after like a chapter it would lose my interest again. So this was kind of like an up and down ride for me. I actually really enjoyed the side characters in Wayfarer more than the main characters. Sophia is a character from the first book. I loved her character arc, and there's a new side character introduced in Wayfarer, Lee Min, who I really loved her. She is, I believe she's lesbian, and she is Chinese. This story was very interesting. It's something that I should have liked, but I just think I don't get along with Bracken's writing. Overall, the feeling that I have when I think of this book was boredom, so that's why this one got 2 stars, because by the time I finished it I was just kind of over it. And since this one was the finale, I will be posting a full series review of the Passenger duology on my channel soon, so keep an eye out for that. The other book that I gave a 2-star rating to this month was American Street by E.B. Zoboi. This is a YA contemporary story about a girl who has been living in Haiti her entire life, and she and her mother travel to the US to visit some family, but at the airport her mother is detained by US immigration, and the main character Fabiola ends up going to live with her aunt and her cousins by herself. I enjoyed the main character in this book. I enjoyed her voice. She was a very engaging main character, and I did enjoy the Haitian culture and spirituality elements, but I did not enjoy that the main conflict and the characters felt kind of underdeveloped. I also really hated that this book seemed to normalize girl hate and violently abusive relationships. I have done a full video review on American Street, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts in depth with like examples, then you can check out that video. This is an Own Voices book, so of course it does have value. Of course I want to see more Own Voices books and debuts being published, but I don't want to see more books that normalize abusive relationships and perpetuate the stereotypes that girls are mean and catty to each other, so that is why I rated this one so low. Now we are into the books that I gave 3 stars this month, and the first one I'm going to talk about is one that's kind of odd. It's not a book that I would normally read, but it is How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age by Dale Carnegie and Associates. The original was just How to Win Friends and Influence People, which was published in the 1930s, and then more recently they did the updated In the Digital Age. So this book talks a lot about how to connect with people online with social media. It's basic stuff like nobody likes to be told that they're wrong, nobody likes to be attacked. I do think that this book has useful knowledge and information, but it is kind of just common sense stuff. Nonetheless, it was kind of good just to have that reiterated, that this is how you should deal with people. But this book was not engaging to read. It was very dry, very boring. It took me a long time to get through it, and my biggest gripe with it is that although this book tells you a lot of here's what you should do and here's why, here's all of these studies and all these anecdotes and personal stories about why this one thing doesn't work. You should not do that. You should do this instead. But I did not feel like it gave you a lot of practical information on how to implement those things. It's good information. It was a good reminder, but I didn't really enjoy reading it, and I feel like you can really just read the table of contents in this book, and that's basically all you need to know. Next up is A World Without You by Beth Revis. This is a YA novel about a young boy who thinks that he has the ability to travel through time, but his parents think that he is delusional, and they have sent him to a school that is for kids with mental illness, but he thinks it's a school for kids with superpowers. I really struggle with this book because there's such an emphasis from page 1 to the last page on that question of, does he really have a superpower, or is it all in his head? And the thing is that the book tells you the answer in the first couple of chapters, so the reader knows the answer, but the character doesn't. And if you enjoy books where you know information that the character doesn't, and then you watch them figure it out and put it together, I think that you would enjoy this one. But for me, I ended up just kind of finding myself bored while reading most of the story because I already knew the answer. My favorite part of this book is that we have a couple of chapters that are told from the main character's sister's point of view, and she's only got like 6 or 7 chapters in the book, and I wish we'd had more from her. That was what I found the most interesting, like the whole family side of it and how the whole family unit was affected. But overall, I just kind of felt very middle of the road about this book. Next, I read City of Saints and Thieves by Natalie C. Anderson. This is a 2017 debut novel, and it is a mystery set in Kenya. It is about our main character whose mother was killed 5 years ago, and she believes she knows who the killer is. Since her mother's death, she's been living on the streets. She's a homeless teen, and she works with a street gang, and she has this really incredible reputation for being the best thief in the city. So at the beginning of the book, she and her group are pulling off a heist. They're breaking into a house, and in this house, she finds some information about her mother, so she sets out to discover what the truth really was. I have a whole video book review up of this book already, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts, you can definitely check that out. But overall, I really enjoyed the setting and I enjoyed the characters, but this one just really fell flat for me as a mystery. I didn't think a lot of suspense and intrigue was built in the writing. And just a heads up to any readers who may not want to read about this, rape is a pretty heavy, prevalent theme in the book. I hear this one compared to Ocean's 11 and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I did not get either one of those vibes from it personally, but if you're looking for a book that is set in Africa, then this one definitely will evoke that setting. Now on to my 4-star reads. First up is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is the first book in an adult fantasy series, and this is about a world where there are 4 different Londons. They are parallel worlds. There are only certain people that are able to travel between these worlds, and our main character that we follow is Kel, who is one of these travelers, and he likes to smuggle items between each London, and that is something that is very forbidden. And because of his smuggling, he finds himself in possession of a very, very dangerous and dark artifact. This was a reread for me. I first read this book like when it first came out, so it's been a couple of years. I reread this one because I am hoping to continue the series soon. I really hope that happens because I own the other 2 books in this trilogy, and I just need to finally continue it. I don't have a ton of thoughts to say about this one because it's one of those worlds and stuff where I feel like this was all just set up and I want to see where things go from here, but I do really enjoy the main character Kel and our other main character Lila, and rereading this made me remember how much I do actually love Schwab's writing. Next is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, also a 4-star read. This is a YA contemporary romance story about 2 characters and just the day that they meet and all the time that they spend together on this day. This is a really important day because our main character Daniel, who is a Korean American character, he is on his way to interview to go to a prestigious college that he doesn't actually want to go to, and so he is just trying to find things to do in the city to distract himself from this interview. And our other main character is Natasha. She is a Jamaican character, and this is actually the day that she and her family are being deported, and she's also trying to distract herself on this day because she doesn't want to pack and leave the country that she considers home. This is an Own Voices story. The author and the main character Natasha are both Jamaican. I really love these characters. I felt like they were really well developed and that I really got to know them. I particularly loved how much of opposites that they were, because Daniel is like this poetic, hopeless, romantic character, and then Natasha is this very scientific-minded girl who doesn't think she believes in love. Insta-love is a huge trope used in this book, and I do want to say though, this is one of the best cases of insta-love that I have ever read, because you're spending so much time with them, you can actually see a reason for why they are developing feelings for each other. In comparison to Nicola Yoon's first book, Everything, Everything, I definitely prefer this one. This one was not as problematic as Everything, Everything. I like like Nicola Yoon's writing, and I definitely want to read more from her. Also at 4 stars was Their Fractured Light by Amie Kaufman and Meagan Spooner. This is the third and final book in the Starbound trilogy, which is a young adult science fiction romance series. The 3 books in this series are companion novels, so each of them do follow 2 new characters, but the overall plot of this is that there is this mega space corporation, and the business owner of it has been doing some really shady things and has ripped a rift in the universe and discovered alien beings. The characters that we follow in this book are a hacker and a con artist, and both of these characters are wanting to infiltrate this business and take it down from the inside. And these 2 characters are working separately, but they end up thrust together to get out of a sticky situation. I do already have a full series non-spoiler review posted for the Starbound trilogy if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this series overall, but I did really enjoy this one as a finale, and what I really loved about it was that we got to see all the characters from books 1 and 2 make kind of a reappearance in this one, and you got to see all of them interact together and work together, so I really did love this one as an ending and how everything wrapped up. And the last book that I read this month, which I gave 5 stars to, it was my favorite book of the month, and honestly this book is my favorite of the year that I have read so far. It is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is a Known Voices book about a young black teenager. One night after a party, Star is riding in the car with one of her childhood friends when he gets pulled over for having a busted taillight. He's also a black teenager, and the white police officer that pulls them over ends up shooting and killing him, claiming that this guy was threatening his life, that he's a basic thug, and that he had a gun, but Star knew that there was no gun involved, her friend was unarmed. So the book is exploring police brutality, the Black Lives Matter movement, and although it does tackle a lot of really important issues, there is so much more to it than that. I loved the family and the community aspects of this book. I loved the way that this book handled friendships, because you see Star having some very supportive friendships and some very toxic friendships. It's such a raw and refreshing and realistic and relatable story, and just I love this book so much. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts on it, I did do a video recently on 6 reasons why I think you would enjoy this book. There's nothing that I disliked about this book, and I feel like everyone could get something out of it. So that's it. Those are the 9 books that I read in March. There are links to all the reviews that I mentioned in the description. If you have any other questions about these books that I talked about today, please ask me that down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!